Cultural identity represents the characteristics of an individual based on their values and beliefs within a culture group. Here I have an image of the Philippine flag, which represents my personal cultural identity. The image on the left is a group photo with my family and a caption that says Kapwa. Kapwa is a core Filipino value that means to embrace the shared identity. Filipinos are all about togetherness and the idea of being with each other. In that way, family is an important aspect of our culture. The middle image is a traditional folk dance called Tinikling, which serves to represent the cultural pride of the Philippines. In the top right image, it displays Catholicism, as a majority of Filipinos take part in religion and their beliefs revolve around higher powers or spirituality. Lastly, in the bottom right image is traditional clothing called barongs and Filipinanas. They are formal attire worn on special occasions. These elements of Filipino culture emphasize the roots of a particular culture and the influences that shape an individual's lifestyle.
Hi, my name is Chandler, and for my slide, I chose to talk about a few things that are attached to my culture as a white American. So, as an American, we have a tradition of quilt, and I know that's, not singular to a lot of white Americans. Quilting comes from Europe, and it, in comparison to other quilting, it is very angular and not restrictive, but it's just very angular. And so there's a lot of harsh lines, but current modern interpretations of a type of quilting called a log cabin pattern. New artists have put a spin on that. And so we see things in this picture of dashes going through them, breaking that pattern. This is reflective of, modern cityscapes with all rigid lines and stuff. And then my other couple of images are about something that's very near to my heart, is American folk music. You see a picture of a traditional American folk instrument called an auto harp, as well as some of my favorite singers, Joni Mitchell, who is actually Canadian, but she does a lot of traditional American folk songs, as well as Pete Seeger. He does a lot of American traditional folk as well. Folk songs in particular stem from, poorer white Americans, and poor black Americans too, but in this context, I can only speak for poor white Americans, having a guitar and needing to just express. 3 chords in the truth is a very, very common phrase, where simple songs written, simple made songs that are just 3 chords, are often simple in their making, but they're often very deep in their lyricism. And so Pete Seeger, Joni Mitchell, they're 2 very important folk singers who do those traditional folk songs. Think of songs such as "Bury Me Beneath the Willow."
I'm Elizabeth, and this is my slide. The definition of cultural identity is a person's identity or their self-concept or self-perception. It can be related to nationality, ethnicity, religion, social class, generation, gender, all kinds of things. It's just the way that people feel a sense of belonging in a certain group. Something in particular that I liked about their reading was the idea that cultural identity is not a fixed thing. It's more of a continuous process of development, and it can be changed by various factors. I chose these photos because I think they exemplify how it felt to grow up Mexican, specifically in my household. I know it's different for everybody, but these felt really exemplary of Mexican culture to me. The first one is a picture of Vicente Fernandez, who's my mom's favorite musician. He is a mariachi musician, and he's from Guadalajara, which is where my parents are from. My parents are from Jalisco, Guadalajara specifically. So his music was a very big part of my childhood and growing up and feeling connected to my culture. I like this picture in particular because he's on a horse, and my parents grew up working on and living on farms. The other photo is of a festival that happens in Tepeyac Hill in Mexico. It is to celebrate the Virgin Mary appearing as the Virgen de Guadalupe. She requested a church be built in her honor, and the event is seen as a catalyst for the conversion of Mexico to Catholicism. She's revered as a patron saint of Mexico and the Americas. Growing up, my mom would take me to her festivals. They have them in Mexico, and they do them really big out in Mexico, but they also have them here in the States. And some of my earliest memories of feeling really connected to my culture were going to these festivals. You have to wake up at 3 a.m. and walk the streets and pray to her like all night. So even though I don't practice Catholicism now in my adult life, I still feel a sense of cultural belonging just because it was something I grew up doing, and it was something that was very important to my mom. So yeah, I think that sums up my slide. Thank you.
My name is America Lopez Martinez, and to me, cultural identity refers to a public and or private representation of belonging to a cultural or ethnic group. To me, my cultural identity is being Mexican, and on the first picture to the left is the statue of the Angel of Independence, and as the name suggests, it signifies Mexico gaining its independence on September 16th, and it's a day that is celebrated by all Mexicans far and wide. Especially during difficult times, it is seen as a sign of strength, hope, and resilience. In the middle picture is a notable Mexican actor and artist known as Pedro Infante, whose movies and songs are still present today. On the top right picture is Juan Gabriel, another notable Mexican artist whose songs have touched thousands of listeners such as myself and have shown Mexican pride through and through. And on the bottom right is a Mexican flag, specifically a flag being waved during the recent protests against the immigration raids, showing both resilience and fight.
Hello, I'm an international student from Myanmar, and I'm currently living in America. So basically, cultural identity is how we are seen in a relation to the culture we were raised in. So my cultural identity is Burmese and is deeply rooted in tradition, costume, foods of Myanmar. So even though I'm currently living in America, my cultural identity stays strong through the custom that I practice and the memories I carry from my Burmese background. So for the festival, the Dadejo is one of the most Myanmar's beautiful festival. Homes, streets, temples, and pagodas are all decorated with beautiful lights, candles, and lanterns. And people visit elders, parents, or teachers to pay respect, and it says like Gadot, which means a respectful bow. A respectful bow, and ask for forgiveness for the past wrongdoings. And elders often give back the pocket money. So another festival is called Dinjian, and the Dinjian festival is one of the most important and joyful festivals of Myanmar culture. The most iconic part of the festival is splashing water on one another, which symbolizes washing away bad luck, signs, and negativity from the previous years. So for the foods, Burmese foods is also a unique part that stands out as to what we are. So traditional dishes like mohinga, which is a rice noodle soup, and lapato, which means tea leaf salad, and ono khao sue, which means Burmese chicken coconut noodles, are the flavors that I often crave and remind me of my home as an international student abroad. So for the place, one of the most iconic symbols of the Burmese culture is Bagan, an ancient city filled with thousands of Buddhist temples and pagoda. There's a lot of the iconic places in Myanmar, but this is the one that makes me amazed, so I just put it here. So it is said that no matter where you point your finger in Bagan, there's always a pagoda there. So this captures the historical natures of Myanmar. And another thing is the most breathtaking moments in Myanmar is watching the sunset in Bagan. So as the sun slowly sets over behind the mountains, thousands of Asian pagodas are bathed in golden light, and that is really the most beautiful golden hours of Myanmar. And the sky turns in the shade of orange, pink, and purple, and all mixing. So it's basically creating a calm and magical atmosphere. So these are basically the things that I found unique parts in Myanmar that I mostly like to mention, and there are a lot of other interesting things in Myanmar. So yeah, thank you.